Hello everyone. On today's tutorial we're going to be looking at something a little different for the An-24 for X-Plane 10 by Felis. Instead of doing what we've done with the NCNS, Shore Navigation Systems, the Automatic Direction Finder, we're going to be using the most humble of all navigation systems, the Global Positioning System. Now the nice thing about the GPS on this particular aircraft is it's a GPS I've actually used in the real plane, not this particular plane, smaller planes like a 172, in the real world, so I do have a little bit of familiarity outside of the sim, and I'll try to mention little things here and there that might not necessarily agree. Another thing we're going to be doing differently today is instead of traveling somewhere in the middle of Russia, we're actually going to be traveling in good old-fashioned New England in the United States here. We're actually going to be traveling from Plymouth Municipal down here to Martha's Vineyard, and then we're going to take a right turn and head right for Block Island State and land on this teeny tiny little runway for a plane of this mass. So I hope you guys like the trip. It's going to be a much shorter video than usual, so you can see this estimates about 25 minutes for the actual trip, but we got to get in the air first, so we got to do that. One thing I will do before I start talking about the actual unit, which is right here, it's a KLN 90B by Bendix King, is that the easiest way to use this unit with this plane is to actually save an FMS file from a different plane or using your favorite FMS flight planning software into a specific folder so that you can load it directly on the unit rather than having to dial it in by hand. It's very difficult to manipulate these two knobs, especially if the plane is bouncing around, and especially in our particular case, we've already got the engines running, so time's ticking. The place to find that, by the way, if you're interested, is if you were to go into your X-Plane 10 folder under Output and under FMS plans, there's a folder called KLN 90B right here. If you open that up, you'll see these little numbered flight plans. Flight plan 0, by the way, is the current flight plan. 1, 2, 3. You can save it into this folder with a number up to 99, and you can actually open it up directly on this unit, which is super duper handy, and we're actually going to be doing that today. Alright, so anyway, we've got the plane started, we have electrical power, everything's looking really good at this point. I know we're just kind of sitting here at the end of the runway, but I guess everybody else can deal with us. It's not like there's any other traffic today. To get everything started, we're going to start by pushing this button here. If you are so inclined, you can actually press the cursor button here and dial in like a nice custom little message or something like that if you really wanted to. That always pops up whenever you start this unit. I'm not 100% sure why you need to do that in the flight simulator, but I know some people really get into it, so why not, right? So I'm going to go ahead and let that kind of process through its little test. And here we go, our first challenge. This unit requires barometric pressure to be entered into it for lots and lots of calculations. In this particular case, the barometric pressure is set in millibars. You can also set it in inches. My home unit, being here in the United States, is in inches, but I switched it to millibars for this, and I'll actually show you how to do that in just a second. The other reason I set it to millibars as well is because everything else in this plane is in millibars, so you might as well do it correctly. So the first thing you need to do when you start this unit is to set the air pressure. I set it just a minute ago from the local altimeter setting, so I'll go ahead and do it here. The way these two big old knobs work is the outside knob changes pages and lines, the inside knob changes values. So if I were to hit the inside knob, whoa, 13,000 feet, oh my. I'm going to go ahead and set that to the correct one, which is 1018. I can then use the outer knob, which you can see is represented by a bigger arrow, to switch to this little guy here. 1018, 1018 looks good. Now I scoot down here to the word approve, I press enter, enter. Now it's incredible, oh, message, yeah, whatever. It's very important that you always set the altimeter on this unit whenever you get a new reading. The quick, handy way to do that on this particular unit is by pressing the Alt key. Then you can quickly change it right away, which is really handy. There's also some VNAV information here, but we're going to leave that out for now. So I'm going to go ahead and press the Alt key to get back to the unit. Now, by default, on the left page, which is controlled by the left knob, you're going to get your present position. On the right side, you're going to get usually the closest airport or your destination airport, depending on how you have the unit set up. As a general rule, the left page is going to be for entering information, and the right page is going to be used for providing you with helpful stuff like frequencies, different parts of your plan, how long it's going to take to get somewhere, things along those lines. But the two pages are somewhat interchangeable. So the first thing we want to look at is actually the setup page. So to get to that, I'm going to go over to this knob here, click here until we see it. Whoop, too far. So it says set. Here's our initial position. We're going to ignore that time. That's fine to me. Nearest airport. Okay. Now, In order to enter information into a page, you need to press the cursor button for the respective page. So if I press cursor on this side, it's going to let me know here, and it's going to actually light up the cursor in what they call a negative video to let me information. Now 2,000 feet is pretty optimistic for this plane, but I've got a good feeling about it. So we can, again, for our particular plane, set the minimum runway length for the nearest airport criteria. We'll get to that later. Then I can use this to tell it whether it's okay to land on a hard or soft surface. This plane, hard and soft. I press cursor, I'm happy. So anyway, what I'm going to do, flight timer, you can change that if you like. Above airspace, turn anticipate. Turn anticipate you should always have on because it tells you to turn a little early, so you make sure you get to your turn in time. This is where you can set the barometer units. I've got it set to millibars. The only other option is inches. The local unit, unfortunately, for this airplane is actually in millimeters, but we'll be fine just the way we are. So I hit cursor again. Airspace alert, we're going to leave that alone. Altitude alert, going to leave that alone. Okay, now this is a handy page to come to the first time you use this unit. This allows you to set stuff about the unit and how it interacts with the flight simulator. Top one allows you to choose whether or not it's the primary navigation source. This is kind of an autopilot thing. The next option down, again I use the larger arrow to move down, allows you to control some options for the HSI. We're going to leave that alone since we don't have one. For the GPS option, it allows us to choose between real-time startup and fast time startup. I prefer fast personally. Fuel unit in kilograms. Our local unit in this particular airplane is kilograms, so you might as well leave it in kilograms. And then finally, VNAV PS. We're going to leave this alone for now. Alright, it's set up. I'm happy. So let's get to planning. Now, for most people, you like to kind of just mash the direct to button and away we go. While that does work on this unit, it doesn't work well on account of the fact that the unit isn't completely comparable and there's some kind of internal things going on that makes it complicated. If I enter a direct to waypoint here, it will actually take me to that waypoint, but I'll have no moving map that works the way you want it to. It'll not give me a deviation indicator. It will give me a turn heading, and it will give me a distance, and it will give me ground speed. So it's not completely useless. I'm going to leave it alone for now, however. Go to get back to, by the way, just hit clear twice. Good to go. The preferred method to use this particular unit is to use the flight planning page. To get to that, I'm going to click here until it says FPL. Right there. Now, flight plan 0. To change flight plan pages, by the way, just click this guy right here, the smaller knob. Flight plan 0 is always the active flight plan. You can see I've already pre-programmed it. If you wanted to load one of your other flight plans that again was stored in that folder, they would be listed here. You can see this was an earlier test when I really goofed up. This is a default one that comes. If we wanted to enter our own flight plan, we could just go to a blank flight plan, or we could even go to an existing flight plan, hit the cursor button, we could go down like this. We could say, oh, I don't want to do that. I really want it to go to, say, Newark. Make sure you always enter your starting airport, by the way. It eliminates a little bit of confusion. So to actually dial in the different waypoints, I'd come in here. I'd say, okay, I guess we should be using airplane talk here. That's echo. We're going to go down to whiskey. And we're going to go down to Romeo, which is going to get us our destination airport. There we are. Enter, enter. Cool. And we could actually take the cursor up to here where it says use, press enter, and go ahead and fire it up so that we can make it our default plan. But we're not going to use this flight plan because I've already loaded in the flight plan we're going to be using today. You'll notice that the arrow indicates where we're coming from and where we're going to. Super handy. Now we're pretty much ready to go. All we have to do now is surf over to our navigation page. By the way, the calculator is very helpful. We're going to leave this alone because this would be for definitely another day. Go ahead and scroll. It's got some status, got some settings page. Other, by the way, this page is your best friend, but I'll show you guys once we get in the air. Over to where it says nav. Now, one cool feature is both sides of the unit have a nav page. I'll actually, nope, just passed it. If you set both sides of the unit to the same nav page, it gives you, whoopsies, it gives you a larger version of it. In this particular case, nav 1 gives you a good old-fashioned CDI, gives us some distance, ground speed, estimated time en route, as well as a bearing. The popular page, or I should say the manual suggested popular page, is actually nav 5, which gives us a cool little moving map. This little thing, by the way, is an arrow pointing from where we are to where we're going. To adjust features of the moving map, you can press the cursor button and actually change it. Like I come from a heading up sort of a world. You can see we're going to be taking a left after takeoff. And then if I use this guy here, I can actually change the zoom level. Since I'm not moving too fast, I'll switch to zoom level 20. I just have to press the cursor to go back. Now watch this. When you switch to this mode, this happens. You'll notice it's kind of got in the way and it's annoying. Just go back and go back for it again, and oh, all fixed. It's our indicated altitude, assuming we set everything correct. Now this page is really cool because it's our moving map, but it's large size, which is again kind of nice for a unit given how old it is. You can again change some settings on this page by pressing the cursor button. For example, we can change the zoom. I think 20 works a little bit better for me. I don't know about you guys. We can change it so it displays ETE. Personally, I like to set that to bearing, but again, set it to whatever you're comfortable with. I can do different radials, things along those sides. This is going to be tracked. This is going to be important for comparing drift later on. Now, to control some more of this, you can actually come over here and press the cursor button here. You can tell it whether you want to have VORs to be visible. You can tell it to slave to the autopilot, which unfortunately isn't going to work, but it does do one neat little feature. Let's see, is it going to do it for me? Oh, whatever. Sometimes it shows up on here depending on how we set it up. And then it also gives us the option, to set if we want north up or track up or heading up, which again is my personal preference. If I press the cursor button away, it goes like that. We're going to come back to this page in a minute. We're going to get airborne first. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to set my page. I prefer nav 1, nav 5. You could do nav 5 on both sides. You could do nav 1 and then estimated time on this side, but we'll get there. Let's get in the air. Alright, we're clear to take off. Everything's looking pretty good. Looks like my first turn is going to be to 187. Alright, here we go. Definitely going to need all 4 horsepower on this thing. Rumbling along here. Try to fly as much of this by hand as I can. Shaking pretty bad there. I don't know if I like that. 200 kilometers an hour. Looks good. And up we go. Gear up. A little bit of trim here. Coming up pretty steep. Gear off. Nose we're stealing off. I'm going to climb just a little tiny bit here at full power. Alright, start milking the flaps up a little bit. Lovely. Now this nose really likes to drop when you do that. Build up just a little bit speed to get up the climb. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and execute our turn. I'm going to do it pretty gentle at this point. Go ahead and reduce my power to climb power. And that's about it for the takeoff, as you guys have probably seen from my other videos. Now you'll notice up in the top screen there, the GPS is alive. It tells us that we're a little off course. It tells us we're about 30 nautical miles away. It also gives us a ground speed of about 150 knots, which isn't too bad. I'm going to turn towards the coastline right there. Ooh, wouldn't it be nice if we had a working HSI coupled with that? Give myself a little bit more trim there. And we're looking pretty good. Climbing at about 300. Now, for some people, it's easier to go ahead and zoom in a little bit because it makes it just a little easier to see just when you need to make that turn. But again, you're going to want to pick what works best for you. There is no one way to use that particular unit, which again is why it's pretty awesome. I'm going to leave the automatic pilot out of this story for just a second. Looks like we got a little bit of turbulence today, but nothing too bad. It is a pretty nice day, and there's supposed to be a snowstorm tomorrow. Not that you can tell, but that's all right. So you can see I'm about 163 knots, about 10 minutes rather, to my next destination, bearing just about straight south. Might as well go ahead and update these guys while I'm at it. It's going to be slightly to the right. I'm just about on target here. That looks good. Go ahead and execute my right turn to catch the actual course. Now, one neat thing about nav 5 is it tells me the difference between my bearing, which is what I'm pointing at, and my track, which is my actual heading over the ground. Technically, if both of those agree with each other, we should be having, basically being on course. But I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense, because our bearing and our track may not necessarily agree. However, our bearing to the waypoint in track should agree. So it looks like our we've got a little bit of drift here. You can see I'm pointing the nose at 186, but off the ground I'm actually heading basically straight south, which doesn't surprise me because if I check the drift indicator real quick, yeah, see that right there, how we're drifting a little bit? That's just because we have a little bit of wind coming off to our right. Switch it back to weather mode. Now I'm going to go ahead and get us up a little bit higher. We're going to go up to 2,000 meters today. Right now I'm using just my rudder pedals to kind of keep me nice and gently on track as I continue trying. We're getting up a little steep, so go ahead and bring the nose down just a little bit. There we go. Looks like this is going to be a pretty pleasant flight after all. Scoot over back to page nav 1. Looks like we're right on course. Alright, just a little bit to the left. And this is in a remarkably well-modeled plane, and I really look forward to the day that another plane similar to it, such as an An-24 and An-18, comes out as well, because I think that would be an excellent addition to aircraft like this. Someday, or I should say, we can dream. Go ahead and update this because I'm on course now. There we are. This thing beats the NCNS any day. About 1,800 meters. I'm going to level off at about 2,000. And then I'll show you some of the other fun things to do. The neat thing about this trip, by the way, is you can already see where we're going. Alright, about 100 meters to go. We're pretty much right now. We're starting to drift a little bit to the left, but that's because of that crosswind we spotted. Go ahead and start leveling off. Nice and easy. Alright, that was pretty good. We'll build up just a teeny tiny bit of speed here. There we go. Last little bit. Get that last bit of speed out of us. Grab the automatic pilot. Engage. Horizon mode on. Now we're ready to roll. Let's see what this unit can actually do. Okay. So I'm going to zoom back in. So how long is it going to take us to do this trip? Well, the good news is it's actually easy to determine with this. I can go down to this little knob here and actually take myself back to the flight plan page. Now watch this. I can now go flight plan 0 because that's the one we're on. If I come over here and dial this to DT, it's going to estimate not only the distance, but how long I'm going to be en route on that particular leg. Now, if you change pages on DT, it gives you universal time on it. It gives you desired track on it. It even told you when you departed. It also estimates when you're going to arrive at about 3:40 local time. It gives you a flight timer, estimated time en route, everything like that. It's really, really cool. But wait, there's more, as they say. We still seem to be climbing just a little bit. That bothers me. Of course, it would probably help if I reduced my power to cruise power. There we go. One neat thing here is we can actually, if I switch over to, don't want to do that, we can actually switch to a page called OTH, which says Other. Now, normally, actually, while I'm at it, I'm going to switch my page over here to Nav so we don't get lost by accident. Yeah, we actually need to turn a little bit into the course. That crosswind's a little bit stronger than I anticipated today. Just a little bit. Yeah, it's good. All right. OTH provides you some really handy functions that may not have normally existed on this particular airplane. So check this out. If I go to Other page 5, it actually can tell you how much fuel you have on board, which is much more reliable than these guys. It also tells you how much fuel is required. That's to get to our destination. How much fuel we're going to have left. And you can actually tell it how much reserve you want to take into account. Now, for me, this is going to seem very naughty, but I like to set this at 0, and I'll show you why. When I go to page 6, it tells me how much fuel I have in hours and minutes based on my current fuel consumption, as well as my current range, as well as how many nautical miles I'm getting out of 1 kilogram of fuel. Not great, but we'll be all right. Now, had I put the reserve back in, you'll notice this went down because it's no longer taking that into account. I personally like this at 0. I'm sure there's some guy at an airline right now who's cursing the day I was born. So anyway, we go to page Other 6. Look at this. Fuel flow in kilograms an hour. We're burning about 1,005 kilograms an hour, which isn't great, but I believe that will actually agree with our values down here. Ooh, so close. Now we can go ahead and go to page 8. It tells us how much fuel we've used. Look at that. And it even gives us useful things like true airspeed if we want to do calculations. Mach gives us headwind. Oh, look at that. We knew that there was going to be a bit of a crosswind. We weren't kidding. And it gives you your SAT, your TAT, it gives you your altitude, your density altitude for those people who really like to do that math. Again, try getting this in any other GPS, folks. And then, of course, page OTH doesn't work. So we're going to go ahead and scoot back over. Actually, go back for a second. My personal favorite page here is this one, because that way we know exactly how much fuel and how long I've got, no matter what this crazy little instrument over here on the right actually says. So I'm going to go ahead and skip back to the nav page. You can see I'm drifting a little bit, but that was anticipated. We'll be to our next point in 2 nautical miles. And looking out the window right there, our next point is actually this airport right here. So you can see how we're just ever so slightly off. Oh, I think it's pretty well modeled. Not bad. We're actually going to have to start descending. I'm going to go jump over to this pilot seat here. Oh, that water never looks that flat, but that's all right. We're going to be heading in this direction in just a moment. So remember how we had that fancy feature that was supposed to detect how far we are before we execute our next turn? We're going to kind of second guess that feature and actually turn right on time to get us just perfectly cut across that. All right. Nice and gentle, nice and gentle, a nice and easy, lazy turn. Once we get a little bit closer, we'll steepen up a bit, but we're just trying to make it comfortable for our passengers. There we are. Going to be turning ourselves right into that nice strong wind. See, I'm about 2.6 nautical miles away. Going to tighten the turn up just a little bit. There we go. Man, this thing beats that NCNS any day. Granted, the NCNS is just fun to play with, too. Alright. Actually, I overdid it a little too soon. Sorry, passengers. And there we are. Go ahead and take us onto our next leg, which will take us directly to Block Island. We'll actually have to start descending in a moment also. Oh, there we go. Now that big nasty crosswind is now a headwind. If you ever have problems with waypoint seeking with this unit, we can always go back to our flight plan page. Press cursor, go to the waypoint we want to go to, then press the direct button, and then press enter. Yeah, it even gives us an update on course and everything. Thank you. I'll shut my cursor off. Go ahead and skip back to my nav page. Now you notice, like I was saying earlier, that it gets a little wonky whenever you do a direct to, so you have to kind of watch out for that. In this particular case, it looks like everything is gone, but believe it or not, it is still there, and I'll show you a couple other features. Whoop, let me fix that. There are a couple other features we want to kind of take a look at. We'll be there in 12 minutes. So, like I was saying, there's some other neat things that you can actually do. Notice it's lost our line and everything, but whoop, there we go. At least we have information on that up ahead. Oop. Oh, now I've done it. Price of progress, folks. There we go. Notice this is now useless. However, we still have a very, very useful distance. Our ground speed is still nice and reliable. We have an estimated time en route. We also have a bearing and all that other useful information. So all is not lost. So just be kind of aware of that when you are using that unit if it doesn't sequence. So you can see destination number 3 is straight ahead. So we're doing just fine. And now we're completely into that strong wind. Alright, another neat feature on this particular unit, if I scoot over to page 5 here, is if you press this button right here, what it does is it opens up an options page that allows you to actually pick different things that are on the map that you can actually go direct to if you choose. So I'm going to go ahead and press that and shut that off. But if I had a bunch of little waypoints in here and I want to pick a specific waypoint, I could push that, hit that, and then press enter, and it would lock me right onto it and take me to it, which is incredibly convenient and very, very handy. So anyway, we're approaching our destination. It's bearing 268. Looks pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and scoop back to navigation page number 5. Whoop. By the way, all this other information on here, if you are curious, you can actually change what reference airport you're using, so you can go ahead and get some useful information along with that as well, which is kind of cool. But actually, what we could do over here, oh no. No SIDS, no fuel. Oh no! It gives us our ATIS too if we wanted to check our air pressure and if we wanted to take a look over the winds and everything, but we've done that before we took off. By the way, make sure you are updating your barometric pressure as you're traveling, otherwise you will have some problems. So that looks pretty good. Go back to my nav page. Looks like I'm 34 nautical miles away. Bearings 268. We're actually at, let's see here, a little bit more than that, but again, we just turned right into the headwind. And if we really wanted to, we could switch to drift mode And you can see we're getting pushed ever so slightly to the left, so I'm not too concerned knowing that we're just about there. Alright, now I'm actually going to start initiating our descent. One thing I did do when I was setting the aircraft up earlier is I actually did set up a VOR so that we'd be able to use that to track ourselves in case something came up. But it looks like we're pretty much on track, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Let's go ahead and start our descent. We're going to go down to probably about 600 meters. If it starts honking at you, just reach over here and press the buzzer button. Alright, I find with this aircraft it's easiest to descend right about between these two lines. A little bit more. Ah, perfect. That gets us a nice solid between 500 and 800 feet meters per minute, rather. We never did shut the landing lights off, but that's okay. Looks pretty good to me. Looks like our estimated time of en route is about 9 minutes, so we could probably soften our descent just a teeny tiny bit if we wanted. I'll just give it a little bit more power. About 45, that's pretty good. I wonder how the weather in Groton is. By the way, if you push this button, it switches to scan mode, which allows you to scan a little bit more at one time. Sometimes this is your best friend, other times, as you can see in this particular case, it doesn't do much for you. So in that case, just enter it by hand. LMNON, Groton, New London. Alright, so let's take a look at what their ADIS situation is. Ooh, too far. Let's see here. Groton, New London, elevation ILS, there we go, 127.00. So let's, while we're at it, go ahead and call them up and see what's going on. Again, this is different than the airport we're actually going to be landing in, but hey, why not, right? Oops, helps if I actually set it to the correct radio, right? We must be just outside of range for that radio, but that's alright. Cool. Ah, there is where we're going. Just like we predicted. Let's see, our current altitude is about, stop at about, say, 1,200 meters. A couple thousand. Oh, there we go. 3008. Yeah, we got everything already set, so we're not going to worry about that. Awesome. So again, another kind of neat little feature. Check our drift. We got a little bit of a crosswind to the left, which makes sense because it's actually pushing off track just a teeny tiny bit. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit, see how things are doing on this end. I'm going to go ahead and modify our zoom level, come in a little bit closer. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to take a left turn. There we go. Shut off my cursor, go to flight plan, if I just want to kind of check it out real fast. Not simulated. Yeah, we did kind of go beyond our original flight plan, so I imagine it is a little bit confused. Let's see here, I'm going to go to the other page right here. Looks like we still have an hour and 12 minutes worth of fuel, and I better level us off. Now we'll get down to 2,000. That's 17 nautical miles, 266. Yeah, we could probably, yeah, we're about on 266 actually, so we're doing pretty well. This is definitely going to be a pretty exciting landing because for those of you who are familiar with this airport, probably know that the runway here is only 2,500 feet, which we're definitely going to have to stick it on the ground well, but fortunately there's a pretty hefty headwind, so it shouldn't be too hard. How are we doing? About 3,000 feet. We're going to keep coming down. Okay, looks like we're right on track this time. Go ahead and change the zoom level again. We're about 15 nautical miles. Not bad. Right on course. Sorry, there's not much to look at, but we'll be alright. One thing they never model right in this game is sun. I know that seems a little weird, but I feel like I'd be blind right now. It's all good. Altitude about 2,500, if I remember. Let's see here. Take a look, take a look. Make sure we didn't miss anything. Normally we'd be calling them and requesting permission and all that other good stuff, but we'll be alright. Let's see here. BID. Probably should focus. Oh, getting a little bit of that turbulence. You knew that was coming. There's about 700 meters. We're almost down to 600. Then we'll go ahead and level off. Airspeed's also getting a little high, but that's okay. Alright, make sure you always level off early in this plane. Alright, back to what I was checking here. Okay. Intensity runway elite. Overnight parking fee. It's like 17 bucks. It's not too bad. Maybe more for us, though. Alright. Landing fee, non-route. Yeah, whatever. Contact, obstructed layer, birds on and of the airport. Uh-oh. Medium intensity touchdown zone, channel 125. Alright. Cool. There she is. Commence landing procedures. Go ahead and take off the automatic pilot. Thank you, Mr. GPS. You've been very helpful to us today. Alright, gonna swing us around here. Drop the power just a little bit more. And start preparing for landing. Don't need to cut the power quite that bad. I wonder if this plane even has tray tables. And there we have it. Block Island, folks. Have to really lose some speed here. That did it. There we are. This is a very nice place for those of you who do visit the United States. If you're looking for something kind of out of the way with a nice beach, just keep in mind that the water tends to be way too cold. But it's you know, we deal with it, you'll deal with it. Now, what I was reading in the weather forecast is there's something like 18 knot gusts today. So hopefully this landing isn't my bumpiest. Also, sorry passenger ears, but you'll have to take one for the team in order to make this a short video. Alright, looking pretty good. We're going to have to pretty much land right on the numbers with this thing. Now, the neat thing is here is in order to own property on this island, you have to be pretty rich. So I don't feel bad at all that this plane is making that much noise directly over their heads. It's actually kind of funny to me. Whoa, feel that turbulence. Little bit of a crosswind here, nothing terrible though. Alright, here comes shookin' China, people. Shake that China. Whoa. Alright, there we go, it's better. A little bit more. A little bit of a crab going on here. This is going to be a bumpy one, folks. A little bit to the right. Easy. Over those trees, just got a warning. Easy. Easy, a little bit of power. This is a turboprop. And this runway is not remotely the correct shape. Ugh. Discretion is always the better part of valor. Well, folks, I'm going to leave it there. Remember, a good pilot always goes around when they run into situations that are not particularly friendly. It's probably good a moment ago that I did go ahead and see what the weather was like over at Groton, because it looks like we're going to be redirecting. This runway is far too short for us at this weight, and really it's too windy to do it safely. I could have probably stuck it anyway, but I'm sure the folks in the back would have appreciated it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and again, if you have any questions on anything, please let me know. I'm sure I probably missed something with this GPS unit as far as it not drawing lines when you'd kind of expect it to, but again, hopefully you got the general idea. Make sure you save those flight plans before you use it, and you'll find things much, much easier to use. Thanks for watching.